This video is sponsored by Get Covers. When I started off my author career, I nearly ended the career before it even began thanks to a handful of mistakes that I'm going to be sharing with you today, in addition to what I would do differently so as to avoid those mistakes in the future, and what you can do to avoid these mistakes as well. Mistake number one is that I didn't understand my genre that I was writing in. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to understand who your reader is, who is the ideal person who might want to read your book, and what genre are they reading. And with that, you're able to identify which genre you need to target and make sure your book is at least mostly in alignment with that genre so that that ideal avatar will actually enjoy your book. When I first got started, I created this. This is a compilation of 12 different episodes that I put on my website, text episodes that I had put together in a serialized fashion, and I created this story. This story was part Terminator 2, part science fiction, part urban fantasy, part superhero novel, all done in a serialized fashion so that it didn't have the same sort of logical flow that most books do. And overall, the whole book was just a disaster. Now, I later went and tried to recover this by creating a cover that looked a little bit more like it fit as an urban fantasy, but because the book wasn't really a good fit for the genre, it didn't really perform very well as an urban fantasy either. And so this is a book that I have decided to put aside for right now. You can't actually get this on Amazon anymore, but I do have plans to rewrite it so that it is more clear what genre it is that I'm targeting. So to avoid this mistake, you want to make sure you're doing genre research. Go to your local bookstore or onto the bestseller lists on Amazon and see what books are selling well. Then make sure you find the genre that is most closely aligned with your vision and see what are those books in that genre doing. You can use AI to research the genre to say, like, what are some commonalities in this particular genre, and make sure you include some of those tropes inside of your book. Even if you have a book that you consider to be your vision and you don't want to mess it up by including all of these tropes, chances are there are genres that you are really interested in, that you actually like, and that are similar enough to your book that you don't have to put too much work into it to actually make it fit a particular genre. And by making it fit a particular genre, it will be so much easier to actually find readers who want to read your book, and therefore give you a chance at actually having a chance to make it as an author. For me, after that disastrous first attempt, I created this book and the series that follows, which was a much more successful book because I particularly targeted young adult fantasy as my target genre and made sure that it fit that genre. And then this book and the series overall ended up making 4 figures right out of the gate from the very first moment that I published it. And that's 4 figures a month, by the way. Now, the second biggest problem that I see a lot of authors make, but it was a major issue for me at the start, was not having good book cover design. As you can see from this book, it doesn't really scream any particular genre. Now, when I created this, I thought I was being so clever by including this black and white design, because I thought maybe over the course of the series, I could start filling in the black and white design with a little bit more color until the very last book would have just a full color illustration. And the reason I was trying to do that was to harken back to some comic books. I was trying to do a whole superhero thing, but it was the wrong thing to do because I was trying to be clever. I was trying to be unique. When it comes to a book cover, the book cover absolutely needs to match the genre that your book is placed in. If it is not, people will not buy it. People absolutely do judge a book by its cover. When it comes to the cover, do not try to be clever. Try to create something that will be recognizable to readers as the genre that they might want to read. Otherwise, no one is going to pick up your book. And that's what I found with this. And that is why I changed the cover to fit a more urban fantasy vibe. Because this still didn't match the urban fantasy genre too well, it didn't perform that much better, but it did see a marketable improvement when I would run ads to it and things like that. Many more people were willing to click on this than they were to click on this. And that actually leads me perfectly into the sponsor of today's video, Get Covers. Now, I have been very picky with sponsors, and I haven't actually taken a sponsor at all until today. I am genuinely shocked at the quality of the covers that you can get from this company, Get Covers, who provides you a really high quality cover from anywhere between $10 and $35. The mission of Get Covers is to help any author to get published regardless of genre, and they have a much better idea of what book covers address each genre than you probably do. And so if you have a fantasy book or a thriller or a mystery or a romance, they are going to have a much better idea of what kind kind of book cover would sell in that genre. And so they will be able to provide you something at very low cost to be able to help you target that market in the way that I didn't. When you purchase a cover through Get Covers, you get unlimited revisions on that cover. You'll get 100% refund if you don't like the result. There is a shockingly low 1 to 4 day turnaround time. Plus, you're getting a dedicated designer that specializes in your particular genre. They also have other services like logo and brand design, book formatting, pretty much any sort of design need that you might have. Now, just for Nerdy Novelist subscribers, you can actually get a 25% discount on that already really low price from now until July 14th. So basically 4 days from when this video goes out. Again, this is only for the next few days and only if you use the code JASON25 at checkout. So go ahead and check out Get Covers to get those book covers right now. And thank you to Get Covers for being my very first sponsor on any of these videos. All right, the third mistake that I made when I was just starting out is that I valued money more than I valued growth. Now, let me explain what this means. Now, after I wrote this book, I instead set that aside and wrote this book and an 8-book series that followed this. So this was an 8-book series and it did rather well, but it was still my first series and I was still figuring things out, but it had done relatively well. So I was confident that the next series that I wrote would knock it out of the park and just be a huge best-selling series. I was also in a job I really didn't like at this time, and so I was really counting on this second series that I was writing to make me a lot of money. I wrote the first 2.5 books before I even launched the first book. The first book looked like this. I thought the cover was amazing. I thought everything that I had in place, the quality of the book was better. The genre was dialed in. It was an Arthurian fantasy, which was a hot genre at the time. Everything about it, I was so confident it was going to make me a lot of money. And then it didn't. Now, there were a couple of reasons for this, and it took me a while to really diagnose what the problem is. The problem in this case is that I had set my heart upon the money that this series would get me. I was so confident that it was going to make me money, and money was really the thing that I was after. And because that was the thing that I was hoping for, and then it ended up tanking and not making me hardly any money. In fact, I spent $1,000 in ads only to make about $500 in revenue, which, if you're keeping track, is a $500 loss. And that just devastated me. I was in the middle of writing the 3rd book in that series, and I suddenly got the worst case of burnout that I have ever experienced. And the reason I got burned out is because I had my thoughts set on the money-making aspect of an author business. When I didn't make the money, suddenly I got burned out. Now, I could have avoided that had I been more focused, less on the money, and more on the progress I was making as a writer. Because with every book that you write, you are going to be getting better as a writer. And if I had made that my goal, and my goal to actually just get better as a writer, to improve my skills, then that failure would have just been another lesson to be learned rather than a complete failure in my goals, right? And I would have looked at writing this book as a success because my focus would have been on getting better as an author. And I absolutely got better as an author by writing this book. And so had that been my focus, I would have succeeded and it would have been fine and I probably wouldn't have gotten burned out. But because my focus was on the wrong thing, I ended up getting burnt out. And really that burnout lasted for years. And this book, this series is actually not finished yet because of that burnout. I'm only more recently have been able to get out of that burnout and really work on finishing this series. So make sure that you have your priorities straight, that you are focused on just improving as an author, because it may be a while before you're able to make it financially in this space. But if you are persistent, you will likely get there. However, in the meantime, it's important to have a goal that you can succeed at. The money is not in your control, but being able to work consistently on a project is. And so if you assign the right reward, the reward being, practicing your craft and getting better every time that you practice your craft, then you're rewarding yourself every day that you write, even if your writing is not yet making you money. The fourth mistake that I made going into my author career early on is I was looking for feedback from all the wrong people. When I was working on this title right here, I gave it to a lot of friends and family. There was one family member in particular that I gave it to. She had read a whole lot of books, and so I thought maybe she would be able to give me advice, but I got a lot of bad advice from all of the people that I shared this with, just because, first of all, they didn't read the genre. Second of all, they weren't experts in writing. And in general, I got a lot of bad advice for this book. Now, when I went on to work on this book, I decided to bite the bullet and get a proper developmental editor for this book. And that developmental editor was able to give me actual advice that was going to make this book a success. That's why this book and the series that follows is still my best-selling book series out of all of the books that I've written. So when you're just starting out, it can be difficult to scrounge up the money to hire a developmental editor or someone like that. But at the very least, you want to be showing your book to people that read in that genre and can therefore give you advice on how they felt about it. Because even a reader who doesn't understand storytelling will be able to tell you if something feels off or they don't like a particular scene if they are familiar with that genre. And if you can scrounge up the money to afford an editor for your book, I highly recommend you do it because you're going to get much more valuable advice from those people than from your friends and family or high school English teacher. The fifth and final mistake that I ended up making early on in my author career is I tried to do too much in marketing. Now, marketing is absolutely one of the most essential skills that you need to build up early in your career in order to succeed as an author or in any online business. But in my case, I was spending so much time reading about everything in marketing that I was spending less time actually doing all of the things. And then when I did start working on marketing, I tried to do everything that everybody was telling me. And what that ended up doing is I managed to do very little in a lot of different things, which meant that none of those things ended up being super effective. We all have a limited amount of bandwidth in what we can do and focus our attention on. And so nowadays, I recommend to most authors who are just starting out to really hone in your focus and focus on one avatar, so one type of reader, one genre, and one channel, one way of getting traffic to your books. Whether that be YouTube, like you're watching right now, or some other form of content marketing, or one social media platform, or one advertising platform, you're going to get so much more out of it by focusing intensely on that one platform and really mastering it than you are going to be trying to do 10, 12, 20 different things. That's why I tell people pick one channel, so one social media platform or one form of content marketing or one form of advertising. Just pick one, specialize in it until you are an expert in that thing, and then focus on one type of reader, one type of genre until your books are making approximately 10K a month. That would be my recommendation. Because what I found by trying to do so many things, I ended up not being able to succeed in any of them. And it wasn't until I specialized in one form of marketing, for instance, in this case, it's YouTube for this particular business. YouTube has been my one form of marketing. I haven't worked on ads, haven't done very much web content. All I've done is focus on YouTube for this business, and that has allowed me to do more with YouTube than I could have done had I tried to do all of those things all at once. And those are the 5 mistakes that I made that you no longer have to make. If you want more content like this, I have a whole video about ways in which authors are sabotaging themselves that will give you even more insight into mistakes like this. So go ahead and check that video out, and I will see you in the next one.